What's going on, y'all? It's Jay Small Reviews here, back at it again with another video. Once again, man, we are continuing this completely dry January with just not much big battle stuff going down. This past weekend, man, I believe on Shark Tank League, Chilla Jones League, Snake Eyes versus Excel battled. Shout out TOS in Chicago. I know Coach had a one-rounder with Geechee. I heard Trufo did his numbers versus Active, but for the most part, very, very minor transactions. And there's not too much noise otherwise going on. But I have seen Calicoe very active recently on Twitter. I know that him and Briz were taking shots at each other for the most. There was that whole ridiculousness. Just to remind everybody, Briz is not going to battle. Briz is not going to love Briz. Thought he was great in his time, but the guy's clearly not going to battle. But I thought it would be good to segue from that into a Book'em episode for those that have seen this series. It's where I pick the next 5 best matchups for a battler. Number 1 being the battle I think they should take next. And we will do Calicoe's Book'em today, man. I think that there's always going to be a useful way to use Calicoe and Book'em. He's not a god tier in the way that, Lux and Mook endgame plates are. But he's like a step below that. Calicoe plate is still very useful for people's resume. There's a reason a lot of Calicoe battles get built up into an SM, right? Mr. Summer Madness. So there's guys that top tier rec that he still hasn't caught. Has a good resume of 20 to 25 names, but doesn't have that of like a, it's not like a 50 battle resume where he's battled almost everyone. There's still options out there. There's options out there that are good that won't even be on this list. But without further ado, like I said, 5 to 1 with 1 being the most realistic. 5 not necessarily being completely unrealistic, but probably the farthest from happening right now. You get the gist, man. Without further ado, let's hop right into the list. At number 5, a matchup that has come very close to happening a few times. I think because of stock on one end, it's a little tougher right now, but I think Calicoe versus Ace Amin would be a very good battle. I think matchup and style-wise, it just makes sense. If we're talking about the way that both of them rap, there's no question there's a reason that Calicoe has tried to set up with Ace independently many times, and we all know when battlers say we setting it up on our own, 90% of the time, that shit is not happening. The let's do it independently has claimed so many battles. I can't even begin. I could do a whole video on how many battles were supposed to go independent and just never happened in our fucking lifetime. But with that being said, even though it's come close to happening that way, I just think that it's a good battle. Now, Ace is stock at the moment, coming off the Marv loss, and more importantly, the Suge loss. It's hard to then turn around and campaign him versus a Calicoe, such a big matchup, let alone if it's on a big league, right? It's like you couldn't see it just happening a volume, let alone a Gnome or a SM right now. It just doesn't make the most sense stock-wise, but Ace, the street talk, the pure rapping, which obviously is what Calicoe is amazing at, right? Street talk and just pure rapping, like a rapper's rapper. I think especially in an enclosed setting, some people, but minimal, that's the best for this battle. Like I said, I don't know if it'll happen anytime in the soon future, but I know Cal is interested in it, and I think that there definitely is potential for a good battle in there. Moving on to number 4. At number 4, I do have Calicoe versus Av. A battle that gets talked up a little bit more every year because Av will take a little shot at Cal, and it's not built up like Av and Hollow, even Av and Verb for how long how overdue it is and how much it's probably not going to happen at this point. But even though Av doesn't have the same amount of promo in with Cal as he does those guys, he's definitely went back and forth with Cal a little bit. Cal said, I would feel like less of a man if I let Av take a round from me, which is insane. There's definitely been good trash talk. And Av is a top tier, and I'm never going to be mad at top tier rec. Obviously, Av, these are the plates that people kind of want to see Av fill out a little bit. The hollows, the cows, the verbs, those milestone, little bit of legacy definers, right? I mean, what you do throughout your whole legacy defines you, but how you perform in the biggest moments against the best competition at the end of the day is going to be those big plates that most people remember. I think Calicoe would be a good matchup. Now, there is matchups I prefer. Obviously, there's 3 above that. So it's not one, but it's not one I'm down on either. I wouldn't be mad if he gets booked by any means. I think it's a good battle. It's why it's on the list. But I think there is a couple more that make sense right now in the moment or even stylistically. But little puncher versus all-around battler, it'll have some interesting things. I think the names are big enough. You could put it on most big cards, and some people are going to say they're not dying for it, but if it's on a card, it doesn't look out of place either. And for me, a great reason that it should be on the top 5. At number 3, we're moving through this one pretty quick, man, for the most part, because I think these 3 are all very interesting matchups and more realistic to happen next for Cal, and that is Calicoe versus Pass. Almost happened on Bullpen in Oakland at that. We all know that card, the business behind it, everything was just whatever the fuck. We have no idea what was going on with that Mr. Fab card, but I still would like to see Pass versus Calicoe since they've already almost did it. I don't know how hard it would be to turn around and do it again. I also like the idea of Cal traveling maybe to some different leagues. I don't know what league. I don't think it would be on URL. I mean, could you go to King of the Dot with this? I'm not 100% sure, but I still love the matchup that it was on paper. Similar to the Ace battle, but maybe even a little bit more personified. This is all about rapping. Like, just rap. We know how amazing of a rapper Pass is when it just comes to the art of rapping, especially syllable right. Like, a lot of times we consider pens and who writes the best. And I'm like this myself, is we consider pretty much only creative content, punchlines, a wordplay format. And listen, that's very important. I think some people also underrate what it is as a pen to come up with creative references, non-outdated references that are still fresh wordplay. But to put together the multisyllabic structures that a Pass or a Cal can do, and the way that they line the syllables up and make it so phonically good for the ear. You know what I'm saying? Like good rapping that just sounds good. They write it to make it sound good, and that's an underrated skill that both of them are absolutely world class at. This is as people say it all the time, it's a little bit of a backpacker term, but it's a rappers battle at the end of the day. I would love it. Is it going to go back to bullpen? Probably never. Who knows if it goes down again, but I think it's that special of a matchup, and it was unorthodox when people were mentioning it, and people realized, wait, this is amazing. So hopefully next year we can campaign, get that back in motion. Got no idea what league it would happen on, but you're telling me you wouldn't be excited if Cal vs. Pass got rebooked? You're lying. And then that leaves us with the two matchups I think will be next best for Cal. And he's a big name battler type of guy. And whether it's RB or URL, he usually is taking notable name comp, as these all are. But with these top two, he's thrown more than a few shots at. So I would not be surprised if it's his next two plates. And at number 2, I do have Calicoe versus Rum Nitty. Now, this is a battle that I asked for a lot going into SM last year. And then I remember, as per usual, what they do. They're like, oh, it's not going to go on SM, but why can't it go on volume? Why can't it go on volume, right? And they always do. They always push it to the side, and then we just didn't fucking have a volume. That's why I hate that bullshit. When you ask for a battle, they're like, well, it would be better, they push it to the volume, and then they just push the volume away as well. It's gotten to that point. They try to push it to a volume, but then they took the volume and fucking moved it. But obviously a battle that I'm a big fan of. They've thrown a lot of shots at each other. Calicoe seems to really, really want this battle as one of his next battles. Rum Nitty has asked for this battle a lot. I believe that Deluxe and always picking up, and the large possibility, if not what should be the locked-in possibility of that battle going down, has probably obviously taken the chances of this down a little bit. But a little bit of noise looks like maybe a little bit of trouble in paradise. We don't exactly know what's happening with Lux and Nitty, if that's fully locked in. And even if it gets locked in and he battles them after that, I still think Cal versus Nitty is one of the best battles for both next. It very similar to Av in Cal in the matchup, Puncher versus Real Talk. You know what I'm saying? Just the difference, the style clash. But with this one, I do think that Rum Nitty clearly is a bit of a higher level right now than Av, just in terms of where we're at status with the game, where he's being put at in terms of conversations, and his body of work is also just a little more vast, right? So I think it just makes more sense for Rum Nitty's career that this is obviously one of the next plates that is clamored for. And as for Cal, he's 95% of the time going to be an A-side in a battle. I mean, at this point, when is he not? You know what I'm saying? So it's not as much so as really with anyone on this list that Cal needs them. And for Cal, it's pretty much all about style clashes at this point in his career, barring an easy-to-block captain situation where there's a new talent that's so great at a specific thing that he's great at that it became that kind of that Titan match on a SM. But Nitty versus Cal, two of the best in the world right now at two different things. They've talked about it, so they both seem motivated for the plate, and it's just one of the best battle rappers at this point that Calicoe has not battled, and for me makes sense. And that leads right into the battle I think Calicoe should take next. What do I think is the best matchup out there? And it's Calicoe versus Swamp. And it's kind of fucked up, because if I did a Goods book him, Swamp's going to be the number one answer. Did an Aver book him, Swamp was the number one answer. I'm doing a Calicoe book him right now, and Swamp is still the number one answer. One of these guys has to battle Swamp. I don't know, they say Swamp's saying they're scared. They don't really say much of anything. They call him out, but then nothing goes through. Is it money? Who knows? But after the year Swamp had in 2022 versus the likes of Tay-Rock, Rum Nitty, Shotgun Suge, even JC, even though he lost the battle, he was great versus JC. I could go on and on. He's clearly showed big stage, small stage. He can compete with the other best in the world. He competes at a top tier level with top tiers. And this is one that makes sense style-wise, too. There's a little bit of a grudge to it. Obviously, Swamp is asked for the plate a lot now, similar to the Nitty plate, but even more. I think Cal has taken tons of shots at Swamp. The dialogue they can have because of the style and content that they have. This is an amazing battle waiting to happen. I wanted it for last year's SM once the Verb and Swamp thing fell through, but we just didn't end up getting that. Whether it's on Gnome, SM, if you got to meet in the middle, whatever, do a volume, who knows. But Calicoe versus Swamp, it's just it makes too much sense to not book. So there's got to be something going on weird behind the scenes, man, to make this not happen. I've been saying this. I could say it. It needs to be booked. I don't got to give a 1,800,000 reasons. It just fucking needs to be booked. Calicoe versus Swamp is a amazing style of Real Talk. It's great look for Cal. It makes sense to battle someone that's in his lane. And as for Swamp, it is an achieving plate. It's a plate that would feel like the milestone plate that he's earned up to with all this work as of recently. And like I said, it could go in any setting. And for me, it's clearly the next battle that Calicoe should be taking. And that is my 5 plates there that I think would make sense most next for Calicoe. Like I said, I think Swamp and Nitty are 2 battles that would definitely should happen this year. He's done the most talk around those battles, and it could happen in a variety of different rooms, so it should be easier to book than other battles, as well as still being kind of main ticket, big card battles. And then obviously Pass, Av, and Ace Amin here, all for style matchup reasons or just pure rec, I think are good matchups that Cal could take. Not at the forefront like those other 2, but ones that if they were booked, I don't think anyone will be mad. And that's not even mentioning, and I don't normally do, this isn't even an honorable mention, but 2 plates I thought of was A-Ward. Someone else he's called out a lot. Makes sense, top tier rec. I don't know how much I believe in the style clash of it, the content that the conversation Ward and Cal could have with each other. But Ward is great. At the end of the day, Ward versus top tiers, I'm never mad at. And if Cal's interested in the plate, I'm not mad at it at all. And then Show Off, people are going to be mad at me that I just said Show Off. People are going to say, Jay Smo, why the fuck did you say that matchup? Because people hate it every time it hits the internet. And I'm not going to lie, I don't think it's the craziest. Do I think Show Off would be competitive with like a fully engaged Calicoe? No, I'm not going to lie to you. But Show has gotten more than a few big plates over there at RBE. He's always held it down. And for the most part, what I will give Show Off is it's rare that it's just horrific footage. Yes, we have Pulverize and him versus Rosenberg, and it's garbage. But, you know, him versus Math is pretty good. Him versus Big K is pretty good. Him versus Chef Trez last year is pretty good. And some would argue that most of those battlers aren't on the level of like a Calicoe style plate, let alone probably the pay that it takes to book a Calicoe for that plate. But I don't know, it's one that's been mentioned. And at the end of the day, when battles get mentioned enough, eventually it happens. If we were doing just RBE plates, Show Off would have to be in the top 3. I know ARP has kind of talked about booking it. He wants to. Cal, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to talk in a circle all day about the Show Off Calicoe battle. I know people's emotions towards it, but it's been mentioned enough where I thought it was worth a mention here. But you guys let me know in the comments down below, what do you think would be a great, one of these great next plates for Calicoe? It could be the very next battle you want him to take, or it could be a name you think I missed on the list that would make for a good matchup. Obviously, I'm always shooting towards realism, what could actually happen, but there's even matches out there, for me, a dream matchup that has probably never will happen, but I would love Calicoe versus Reed. Calicoe versus Reed, that same rapper versus rapper, but especially the grittiness of it, 2 of the most authentic styles in battle rap. Though that's a battle that would mean a lot to me. So if you have any of those that are kind of outside of the box, please let me know in the comments down below. But it's been Jay Smo Reviews again, y'all. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna catch you on the next one, man. Peace.